and good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here at the Nuclear Industry Association event to help showcase the many benefits that nuclear industry brings to the United Kingdom and have the chance to speak to you because you're the people who are instrumental in turning our new nuclear promise into a reality that can deliver clean, safe and affordable energy for generations to come. This year has been an unprecedented year for the nuclear agenda, and this conference is actually taking place at a pivotal time for nuclear power in the UK. It brings a useful opportunity for me to reflect on some of the milestones that we've seen already this year and to look ahead to the challenges that we have to overcome next year as we all play our part in making new build actually happen. Let me start with, of course, the biggest achievement of the year, the agreement we reached with EDF on the key commercial terms for a potential investment contract for Hinkley Point C. Following a huge amount of work from many people, we can now look forward confidently to the first new nuclear power station in a generation being built at Hinkley Point. What we've agreed with EDF represents a very good deal for Britain. It's a good deal for our consumers, providing value for money, and it also provides an attractive proposition for EDF and for EDF's investors, offering a reasonable rate of return for the huge amount of money they're stumping up and for the construction risks that they're taking on. But there are still some hurdles to overcome on the path to their final investment decision. It depends, of course, on a number of factors, including a positive decision on state aid from the Commission, royal assent of the Energy Bill, and indeed EDF's progress with potential investors to secure the capital investment needed to deliver the plant. But I want to make it clear, as the Minister responsible for nuclear, that we will do everything we can in government, everything necessary to progress this in a timely way over the coming months. But Hinkley isn't the only success story this year. As we heard yesterday, the Treasury have now signed a cooperation agreement with Hitachi Horizon Nuclear Power to promote external financing for the new nuclear power station at Wilver in Anglesey. That agreement will enable Hitachi to have access to the UK's guarantee scheme that will underpin the establishment of external project finance for the Wilfer project, expected to come on stream in the first half of the 2020s. So government has made good progress over the last 12 months to make new nuclear happen here in Britain. We've successfully completed the first generic design assessment for Arriva's EPR, and we've started the process for Hitachi's ABWR design. And we've introduced a community benefit regime which recognises the contribution of local populations that surround new nuclear stations to the long-term provision of clean and secure energy for the nation. And subject to Parliament, we expect the Energy Bill to receive royal assent by the end of the year. We know, of course, that investors want to see certainty from government, and contracts for difference available next year will now give them the certainty they need. It is the Energy Bill and its framework that will bring unprecedented levels of inward investment into our energy infrastructure on a scale that will dwarf the spending on the Olympics and indeed on many other projects in our infrastructure pipeline, whether it's transport or water or telecoms. It is our market reforms that have made Britain one of the most attractive investment markets for electricity in the world. We've already seen some £35 billion invested in new green energy generation since 2010. And I and my ministerial colleagues have spoken with a large number of potential international investors over recent months, both here at home and abroad. and I'm delighted by the strong level of interest in our new nuclear build programme. The spread of that interest from countries such as Japan, France, China, the United States, Canada, and Russia shows that our nuclear market is clearly an attractive prospect, and that scale of interest from right around the globe can only be a good thing. And on that subject, we are, of course, very aware that rising energy prices are hitting many of our households at a difficult time, and we are also facing a looming energy gap in the next decade, thanks to years of neglect and underinvestment. The best way to keep our constituents' bills down is to help people to save energy, to ensure fairer tariffs, and to encourage competition. And that's exactly what we've been doing. New nuclear will increase our energy security and our energy resilience. It's a safe, reliable, homegrown source of electricity that reduces our reliance on foreign gas imports and the associated volatility in their prices. Hinkley Point C represents just the start of investment in a new fleet of nuclear stations. That in itself is expected to reduce domestic bills by around 11% by 2030, or around some £77 a year, compared to a future that is non-nuclear. And the Hinkley Agreement is good value compared to the alternative. The strike price we have reached will be competitive with large-scale renewables and with gas-fired generation based on our current projections. In addition to those headline-grabbing milestones that I've already mentioned, a lot of work is also underway to prepare the ground for new nuclear and to ensure that the nuclear sector remains vibrant in the longer term. To achieve that, government and industry have been working together this year for the first time in partnership. A third successful meeting of the Nuclear Industry Council took place last month, as many of you in this audience will be aware. Absolutely central to ensuring that our businesses win contracts in nuclear markets is the Council's Business Capability Workstream. And as Joint Minister for Business and Energy, this is an area where I have a strong personal interest, and I was pleased to hear of the progress that's being made on this front. What that work requires is an effective dialogue between developers and the rest of the supply chain, underlining the importance of the collaborative nature of the Nuclear Industry Council, which I co-chair. While the Council's objectives have timeframes that span decades, it was agreed that work must gather pace now if we're to help British companies seize the window of opportunity for Hinkley work as well as for other developments. The NIA Programme Management Board has a key role to play in this area. With my colleague Lord Hutton, a long-time champion of the industry, as your chairman, I have every confidence that the NIA can drive forward this important work in the coming months. Key also to the successful delivery of the new nuclear fleet will be a strong domestic workforce and supply chain. The opportunities here are huge, and they're there for the taking. Hinkley Point C itself will inject some £16 billion into the economy, with the potential for British firms to get the majority of that 16 billion. And when we look further away at the global picture, the opportunities for us here in the UK are also enormous. An estimated 930 billion of investment is projected for nuclear new build globally, with international procurement running at around £25 billion a year, every year, from now until 2025. I want to see the UK take advantage of this, and I want to see our nuclear industry become a global leader. To highlight the opportunities that Hinkley Point C represents for our businesses, EDF are holding a conference next week targeting Tier 1 and Tier 2 supply chain companies to help them understand the opportunities available and how they can access them. I will be there to support that event, as that's an area I and the government are very much committed to. And I'm also delighted to announce today the launch of a new partnership between AMEC and the University of Manchester's Dalton Nuclear Institute. That partnership supports strong collaboration between the industry and academia, one of the cornerstones of our nuclear industry strategy, and it will help support the United Kingdom in exporting our skills and expertise overseas, ensuring that we keep our place as one of the leaders of the nuclear sector. So I hope you will all make the most of the opportunities that now exist, both in new build, but also in maintenance, in life extensions, in decommissioning, in waste management, and in environmental remediation. Even gaining a modest share of the global market in each of those areas will provide huge business prospects for our areas of expertise in design, in engineering, in project management, professional consulting, and so on. And so as we move towards Christmas, let's look ahead to the challenges we face in 2014. I'm looking forward to seeing the regulators move to the detailed Step 2 for generic design assessment of the ABWR, and to my department receiving an application for regulatory justification of the ABWR. And we mustn't forget the need to manage our waste legacy. That's an issue that's been ignored for too long and needs tackling for once and for all. So it's important to mention that alongside our commitment to new nuclear build, we continue work to implement a means of managing higher activity radioactive waste in the long term, which we know is vital to public confidence in the nuclear industry. We remain committed to our policy of geological disposal and to the overall Managing Radioactive Waste Safely programme. However, we've set out that some changes are needed to the selection process for a geological disposal facility, and today you'll know is the closing date for a public consultation on potential revisions to that process. I hope many of you have already taken the opportunity to respond to the consultation and to engage with the policy team who've been discussing these proposals with a wide range of stakeholders. It's important we can draw on the real experiences and knowledge of those involved in the industry as we seek to map out a successful path to delivery of a permanent waste management solution. And I'm also sure there's a role here for industry itself in helping to communicate a clearer picture of the realities of this issue. This needs to be seen as yet another step in the process of managing nuclear materials safely for the benefit of society, and not as some sort of uniquely difficult problem that has to be avoided. So in conclusion, let me say again how delighted I am to see you all here today. As Minister in both business and energy departments, I want to see our nuclear industry flourish as a global leader. I want to see everyone here embracing the challenge that we now have ahead of us, and I want to see continue the genuine partnership between government and industry that helps make this happen. Thank you. Any questions?
Minister, thank you very much indeed. I know you have another engagement shortly, but the Minister has agreed to take some questions from the floor. So can I ask if there are any questions for the Minister? Please raise your hand. Gentleman in the front.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fallon, I'm sure you can't say too much on this, but there's a lot, obviously, of concern about the EU assessment of the package for Hinkley Point C. Does the government have a plan B if the EU decided it didn't like the current terms of the financial support package, what would happen then?
Well, Plan Bs are rather out of favour at the moment. Plan A is what the government's been sticking to, and I think you heard that earlier this morning. And we are sticking to our Plan A. We see no reason for the terms of this contract not to be acceptable to the competition authorities. We pre-notified the decision. We've had informal discussions with the Commission throughout the negotiations with EDF. We formally notified on the day the decision was reported to Parliament, and we continue to discuss the handling of that decision and the timetable for it and the issues around it with Commissioner Almunia and his team. But we have no reason to be constructing a Plan B.
Helen?
Thank you very much, Julian O'Halloran, BBC Current Affairs. Vincent de Rivas earlier on today spoke about the opening of a new emergency response centre at Sizewell next week. And obviously in the wake of Fukushima, there was a fair amount of head-scratching and a detailed look at safety in the event, particularly of what happened at Fukushima, not so much the tsunami, but the loss of cooling incident in relation to the reactors there. To what extent have you been made aware as Minister of what the degree of changes or improvements in safety systems that have been put into place as a result of Fukushima, and the extent of any costs that may have arisen for the industry in the light of that?
Right. I'm not aware of any additional costs for the industry. I've not been informed about that, but certainly ministers have been kept fully informed about how we've been learning the lessons of Fukushima and making sure there isn't interruption to the cooling processes that were fundamental in that particular accident, and we're very, very much involved in that and informed in that work. But I'm not aware yet of any specific additional costs involved.
Any others? Yes, Andrew.
Andrew Sherry, Director of the Dalton Nuclear Institute. I just had one question. I know it's important, but perhaps just to capture your thoughts about it, and that's public attitudes to nuclear energy. Interested in your thoughts on how we take that forward and address that.
Well, I think public support for nuclear is higher now than it's been for some time. We have, I think, probably the first time in a generation, we have all three political parties in favour of nuclear power. I don't think that's happened during my political lifetime. We had a massive majority in Parliament in favour of nuclear power, when I think it was a vote of over 500 in favour of nuclear power. And I think there is a public understanding that nuclear does offer part of the solution to our energy mix, and a low-carbon solution at that. So, of course, we've had to work away at public acceptability. It is one of the work streams of the Nuclear Industry Council, and it's an important issue, but I'm not pessimistic about it. I think certainly the communities that are hosting nuclear at the moment are banging on my door and telling me, asking why we're not getting on with it. When I went to Sizewell and to Wilfer recently over the summer months, I was besieged by representatives of the local communities, the parish, the district, the county council, simply asking why it was all taking so long. And we're very ready to host new or renewed plants on their premises. So I'm not naive about public acceptability. Of course, a serious accident anywhere in the world always creates questions, and Fukushima certainly did. But I think we're in a reasonably good place with the three political parties behind nuclear power now.